Hi, I'm Nick and this is the TBT channel, and welcome to this video, the first video on the Cometa Fusion Premier Star. That is what I have in front of me here. It is a break barrel 177 air rifle. Sounds a bit funny on cocking. It shoots okay. I have fired it. It shoots okay and it is under the UK power limit. The price of these is around the same as an HW99 or the HW50 in the UK. HW99, rest of the world HW50. In looks and in size, it's somewhere in between an HW95 and a 98. Whoops. Drama llama, overplaying its part there. It's got a sleeved barrel, but not as thick as a 98. It's closer to a 95 in profile. It's a lot longer in the cylinder than a 99 or the 50, more similar to the 95, 98, and it's got an adjustable cheek piece like the 98. So this is part of my quest to find a gun that I can recommend to people who ask me, because lots of people do ask me, that I can recommend that isn't a Weihrauch, or if you go higher in price, an Air Arms. Okay, so with its price being close to the HW99/50, I want to see if I can make this shoot as nicely as one, whether it's built as nicely as one, and whether it's something that you should consider. So what we're going to do today is take it apart, have a look at it. I'm going to take some measurements and I'm going to make a kit for it. Then we're going to re-lube it, we're going to rebuild it, and then we are going to shoot it. Now, I've only fired this over a chrono. I haven't tested the accuracy. From talking to people who have Cometas, you will either get an accurate one or you won't. Okay, so speaking to the previous owner of this gun, this was an accurate one. I'm not testing the accuracy beforehand because, as I tell people, not everybody believes me, but tuning a rifle has absolutely no effect on accuracy. Zero, zip, zilch, nada, nothing. Tuning your air rifle does not affect the accuracy at all. Accuracy is purely the relationship between the barrel and the projectile. How nice it is to shoot, how much it jumps around, they're other matters, but fundamental accuracy will not be affected, so I don't need to accuracy test this beforehand. I've not taken this apart. This is as new to me as it is to you. To me, to you. So I may come across stumbling blocks while I take this apart because I will be doing it as you watch. One thing I'm going to say from the off is in the top here I have a small rectangular hole, and look in there, it looks like it might be something to do with the trigger, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if that's if you're not using a scope, it's somewhere to keep a toothpick, or just a small hole to allow grit and dirt to get inside of the gubbins. I'm unsure, but I expect we'll find out as we go. So here we go. We're going to see what this rifle's like inside, and ultimately at some point we're going to find out if it is a viable alternative to a Weihrauch spring rifle. Now, the front screws I could see before I started because I used my eyes, have a screw which will accept either a flat bladed or a cross-headed screwdriver. Okay, so I'm using a cross-headed screwdriver for better grip. I do have my favourite screwdriver on standby should it be needed, and I'm sure it will. Now, when taking these out, the little star washers, these little grippy washers, quite often stick to the wood. And in my opinion, they should have a small washer underneath them to stop them digging into the wood. So be aware of that when you take them out, that it isn't stuck there, because sometimes you can take the stock off, the washer was still there, then it will fall off and then it's gone forever. As I say, I have no idea on the internals on this. There may be ping fuckets. I may lose ping fuckets. If I do, we'll mention that as we go. That's the trigger guard off. 2 screws for there. Now the stock should pop off, and it does. The inletting on the stock's nice. It's nice and smooth. I've seen an awful lot worse than that. I've seen worse than that on more expensive guns, if I'm honest. It's a very pale stock, a pale wood. It's supposed to be walnut. I'm not saying it isn't walnut, but it's very pale. If I was any good with wood, which I'm not, I would strip that down, stain it and oil it if I were keeping the gun. Put that there on that bed of cloth to keep it safe. Now, what we have inside here. What do we have inside of here? Where's my reading glasses? Okay. Well, it looks like the barrel is held on with a star drive bolt. That's good. It's not a push pin like in the BSAs where it's just a pin going through. That should mean that is adjustable to take up any slack. There's no movement in that to take up any slack in that barrel. That's good. That is a good thing. I have that bolt there, which is what the front trigger screw goes into. That's similar in design to the Weihrauch HW9777. Have one very similar to this. It looks like the entire trigger unit is going to come out with the pushing through of that bolt there. So let me just check the tension on this spring. It is a sub 12 gun. Yeah, there's not a lot of tension on there, so I'm not going to need a spring compressor by the look of it. First thing I'm going to do is get the correct size spanner for that rather than anything else, because I didn't know I was going to need a spanner. I have many tools to the side of me, but not that. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back with my 12mm spanner, and looking at this, it looks very much like the spring load is shared between this bolt and that pin. So I'm actually going to put the bolt back in a couple of turns and then push this bolt through this pin through, which will mean I can then something sturdy there, put some downward pressure, undo that and release it, and nothing happens. Why for is that? Let's pop that back in. Tell you what, let's pop him through there so things can't escape, and I'll take a closer look. Oh no, that is it. There is just so little spring tension on there it didn't move. Remove that. Remove that. Okay. There we have it. We have a spring. Some piece of awfulness up here. Not quite sure what. I think that's what I could see through the hole in the top. That's what the peephole was for. So that you could see this part, which is part of the safety catch. Don't know why. I don't know why. So anyway, there we go. The gun is apart. Let's have a little look. The spring comes off of an integral spring guide there. We'll take a closer look at that in a little while. We've got a steel top hat with oil on it. And we have our spring with a bend in it. That would explain the noise I was getting when I was trying to cock it. Okay, now we've got that apart, what we need to do is release the tools get dropped on the floor. Release the barrel. Don't you hate it when you drop things on the floor? Right, so I've picked those up off the floor and I've got the right size. So let's break the barrel. Could be something to do later, putting all those back in the right places. That bolt unscrews from there. Presto changeo. Breaking the barrel before you take this out or putting it back in means you're not fighting against the detent. There's a little ball detent on this one, so you're not fighting against that. So there's your barrel pin. We also have a couple of shaped barrel shims or washers there that take up the slack. So I actually quite like the breech design, the breech jaws and lock-up design. Not the biggest fan of the ball bearing ones. I think a chisel's usually a stronger option, but the HW30 has a ball bearing and that's fine. A lot of the Dianas have ball bearings and they're fine. So I'm not going to mark it down too much for that. So we have the barrel removed and that is there. I haven't actually looked at the bore of this. Yeah, it looks clean enough. It looks like a barrel, if I'm honest. And that's okay. And now it should just be a case of sliding out the piston. And there we have it. That is the piston out. A bit grubby, but we would expect that. Now then, what I'm going to do is get my degreaser. But the full one, not that empty one. Just to give this a quick squirtle. Degrease that. You don't have to worry too much about the inside of it, but degrease the outside of it. And let's see what we've got here. Now my glasses aren't there, my glasses are here. So we've got a Diana style or air arm style piston seal there. Not massively tight on that. Trouble is with a piston seal with a hole running through the centre is air is quite small. The particles of air, I mean, they're really small, absolutely tiny. If you were to put one in a cage, it would escape through the holes. That's how small they are. So any piston seal that's got a hole through the centre isn't as efficient as one that doesn't. But that is a 26mm seal on a 25mm piston and a 25.7mm collar there. So it's effectively a 26mm piston, 25.85 at the back there. The same as a Weihrauch, HW99, 50, 95, 98, all of those. That's good. It's got a piston sleeve in there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that yet, whether I'm going to take it out or not. Now it doesn't have a latch rod. Looking at this actually latches on that part of the piston. And maybe again, that's what I'm seeing there. That comes up, that latches on there, like that. Aha. Aha, aha. So there we have it. That's your design. And then when the trigger's pulled, that drops that and away it comes. Good. Now what we need to do is degrease inside of the compression tube using my special rod and a piece of tissue. Just showing you how I do it rather than crumbs actually doing it. Like that, you see, like that. Degreasy, degreasy. But I will be doing all the proper degreasing off camera because I've got a lot to do off camera with this because this is all new to me. But certainly at the moment, what did I do with that piston? There it is. Hello, Henry. Henry, don't get on my lap. No. What we need to do with this is discover the internal length. I can see you. That isn't quite not getting on my 123mm. 123mm internal depth means if I take off my slip washer, top hat, etc. of 12mm, 123, so call that 120, 110 mil. 110, turn the calculator on first. 110 divided by 3.1, which is the wire. It'll accept 35 coils. I only do a 34 coil spring, so that is good. Oh, let's just check the internal bore of the piston. 19 millimeters with the piston sleeve, and 21.8 without the piston sleeve. So that tells me this piston sleeve has to come out. I wanted it to come out, but it has to come out. Let's look at the arrangement here. Right. Bloody right. Faint heart never won fair lady, as they say. So let's just get that in there and see if I can angle him out of there. Now, the way to remove a steel piston sleeve is to get underneath it at the front with something small like your favourite screwdriver and push it out until the rear of it sits proud of the piston. This is the point where you have to be careful, because they're quite often sharper than a razor. Then you get something, in this case these, they'll be fine, and you just try not to pull any more tendons out your shoulder. Remove it. So there is our piston sleeve. He will go to one side, which will now mean one of our pistons fits inside. One of our pistons with a top hat fits inside. That is a bloody good fit, actually. Right, so now what we need to do is see what we can do with this trigger. Now, this will not appear as slick as the Weihrauch videos that I do, simply because the Weihrauchs, I'm taking apart a Weihrauch every week, and I literally am. I mean, it's just one of those things. Whereas this is a first time. And the first time is always tricky, for me as well as for you. So push these pins through. Right, okay, and these pins also hold, this top pin, it's also holding a spring, and that part there, and that went round that way. So that goes into that hole there. That little bar on that spring is underneath there. So that is how that was orientated inside of the gun. I can go back on this video and check, you see, that's why I'm doing that part. If you're doing this yourself or stripping down a gun you've never stripped down before, take photographs with your mobile phone as you go. That way, if you come toward the end of it and think, oh, what's that bit for? You can go back and you can see. Right, push the next pin through. The next pin is smaller. And now the trigger unit falls apart. Remember me mentioning pink kits? Well, there you go. What we've got there is a bar, something that goes through the bar there, and then a shim for either side like that, which goes on the front there where that front one came out of. So we'll put that, I've got the other piece here, and I'm going to put them on the table relative to each other as they came out so that I can see where they go. That will make rebuilding it an awful lot simpler. Now what I need to do is remove this metal rear guide. Okay, that's looking inside of that hole there. I can see the serrations around the base of that, so that's press fitted into this, and I have been told by others that these are removable. You just need a bit of heat and a bit of brute force. So I am going to use a bit of heat and a bit of brute force to take that apart, but the gun is in pieces. Hopefully there will be a next part to this video where I put it back together again with one of our kits inside. Let's hope so, otherwise I've just got a load of bits in front of me. It'll be fine. It will be fine, honestly, it will. I have no doubt whatsoever. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit notifications, come back and see how I do with getting one of our kits inside of this gun. Thank you, goodbye.